Hey guys, welcome to AFTERBUZZ TV. You are joining us for Speechless Season 1, Episode 22, M.A. May J, which is something completely made up, wasn't real. We have a special guest here today, John Ross Bowie, who plays Jimmy DiMeo. You guys don't go anywhere. We're going to talk to him about all things Speechless. Stick around.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Thanks for joining us here at AFTERBUZZ TV, guys. And we have a special guest, John Ross Bowie.
Hi.
Hello. Everyone
Thanks
say
for
hello.
having me.
Thanks for being here with us. And we're playing Blitzkrieg Bop. Yes? Do we know who that's by?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
If we're not 18 or
Right,
however old you are.
28.
That's the Ramones. That's the first song off the first Ramones record, and it is featured in a jazzy version in tonight's episode, which was not something I asked for. I'm a huge Ramones fan, but I didn't ask for that. They just it was sort of a gift to me from the writers.
Oh, it was a pleasant surprise for you, I'm sure.
Yes, very nice.
Yes. All right, well, thanks for joining us. And thank you guys for joining us here at AFTERBUZZ. You guys can find me on all social media at Susannah_Kim, SUSANNAH_KIM. Of course, I have a lovely panel, and we've got a new person joining us right at the end of the season. So let's start at the end. We're going to make our way around, and then we'll get to our new guest. So.
Hi, my name's Taylor Gates. You can find me on Twitter at alphabet_Ann and on Instagram at Taylor_Gates_.
Awesome.
And I'm Paige Bach. You can find me at Paige_Bach on Instagram and at Paige Kelly Bach on Twitter. And I can't talk tonight, so it's going to go well.
Let's do that special guest. I'm nervous too. I'm having a hard time, you guys.
And hi, guys. You can find
I'm nervous too.
Okay, good. Well, yeah.
You can find me at bphipps14 on Twitter and Instagram and bphipps1214 on Snapchat.
Perfect. And of course, we've got Jimmy DiMeo himself in
Hello.
our studio. It's a little weird.
Hi. At John Ross Bowie, if anyone's wondering. How are
you
you?
guys can find him. Yes, thank you guys for joining us. We have an interesting episode, May J, which we were talking about at the beginning. We normally have episodes where we kind of know what's going to happen in the episode with the title.
Yeah.
This didn't really happen. Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, I can't think of another one, but yeah, you're wrong.
No, the road trip episode, the
exactly.
Halloween episode,
Exactly.
the choir episode.
We kind of get like exactly what's going to be coming up.
We
Right.
tip our hand in the episode titles usually, but it's a little more complicated this week. Yeah.
May J
In
was...
my head, it was going to be about something with birds, and I don't know why. Because like Blue Jay.
Blue Jay.
Blue Jay. Oh,
Yeah,
I was thinking
that's
like Mayday, Mayday, Mayday.
Oh, okay.
Like, like Dayton, but no.
Both
none
fit.
Of that. Yes, yeah.
I think both fit.
Both were wrong, though. Neither applied. Okay, so our special guest, Jimmy DiMeo, here in the flesh. I think all of us are kind of... We talked to you a little bit before we got into the studio here, but we'd love to have the viewers and everyone joining us here know a little bit more about the audition process, the casting. Tell us about that as much as you can.
As much as I can, I'll be as brief as possible. So it was they were casting this last year during pilot season, which was the 3 or 4 months where in the beginning of every calendar year, where the networks decide that they really want to put Los Angeles' actors through hell.
Right,
So
yeah.
around February, I started hearing about this show. And literally, I heard about it from a friend who was like, it's this show with a family who's got a kid in a wheelchair. It doesn't sound like it's going to be very good. And I was like,
That's what you heard.
Yeah, that's literally all I heard. I was like, oh, well, I don't know. And then I heard that Scott Silveri was doing it, and I'd read for Scott for a couple of other things in the past, and I'd always liked his writing. I think he's a really good joke writer, and I think he'd done that show Go On with Matthew Perry.
Oh, I love Go On.
Go On was really
Yes,
good, right?
So good.
And
Such
Go On
writing.
was the kind of show that had took a very serious topic and was able to find the absurdity and the humor in that.
That's very true.
So I went in, figuring like, okay, it's the dad on a sitcom. I audition for that all the time. I never get it. We are wasting everybody's time. It'll be lovely to see Scott. And I go in and I'm like, hey, how are you? And I read and I guess it goes well. And everyone's like, okay, great, thank you, John. I'm like, okay, guys, good luck with whatever movie star you talk into doing television. And I headed out and. They were like, oh yeah, they really liked you. They have a pin in you, which is an awful term that you may or may not have heard at this point. For our viewers at home who have inured themselves to this nonsense, that means basically that if you get another job, they would appreciate you telling them about it. but you don't have their job.
Right.
So I have a pin in me. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And pilot season goes, and it happens, and nothing really comes of it. And it's the standard. It's now March, and pilot season's kind of in the rearview mirror, and I'm doing my usual sinking into a depression, googling things like too late to take the LSATs, and I get the call that they finally found the mom. They were waiting to find the mom, and it's Minnie Driver. And I was like, I actually know Minnie. I played Minnie's boss on About a Boy. This might work out. And they're like, well, they'd like you to come in and chemistry read with her, which is exactly what it sounds like. We read, we see if we have chemistry. I go in, I say hi to Minnie. Minnie and I had followed each other on Twitter a couple years beforehand,
nice.
so that's, we have that connection.
Yeah.
Fun trivia, at the time, Minnie was still doing an American accent as Maya, which floored me, by the
That
way,
would've been such a different
because it's such a different character, but we did the scene, I don't know if you remember, there's a scene in the pilot where she walks in on me in the shower, and she we're fully clothed for the chemistry read. Let me make that abundantly clear. She comes in and she goes, "I'm right, aren't I?" And I was like, "Oh, no one warned me that they're okay.
Totally
that we're gonna.
blew you
Oh,
off.
we're American now and from the Midwest. Okay." But it went well. It went really well. We had a really easy chemistry, and we were cracking each other up. And I got the call later that evening that they were going to try to make it with a bigger name. But stick around. You still have a pin in you. So, and I know the guy. And he's a great guy, and I'm not going to give his name. But he just couldn't make his schedule work. And they just panicked. And the night before the table read, I got the job. And
That's amazing.
I'm still here.
Knock on leather.
Yeah.
Pleather.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, there's wood underneath, I
Oh,
assume.
yeah, there you go. But yeah, that's amazing. And so how is it working with Minnie on a day-to-day now?
Oh, it's great. Minnie and I get along really well, and I respect her a lot. I think she's really smart. I think she's got just a ton of really diverse experience. She's done a lot of really heavy dramatic stuff, and she's done a lot of really goofy stuff too.
Right.
And I think she's able to bring both of those skills to the forefront on the show, and it pushes me to be better, and it pushes the kids to be better. Yeah, she's I like Minnie a lot, and it's just fun listening to British people talk all day.
It is. Yeah, when she said matter, I was like, matter.
Right,
It's
yeah.
really nice. It
Yeah.
just hits your ears in a better way.
It really does, yeah. Yeah, and she says controversy.
Plus, British people get such better like bursting moments, like oi, like stuff like that.
Oh,
That's
right.
so much more fun than like.
Those were all Hayes in the
Reactions.
pilot script. And then she's like, no, they're going to be changed all Oys. And it's spelled O-I, the British way, not O-Y like the Jewish person.
Jewish
Oi.
way.
It's
not oy vey.
It's
Not oy
no, it's not
vey.
oy vey. It's oi as in the British working class hay.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a delight. I like Minnie a lot. She's really fun. And our kids get along too, which is weird. We actually have sons around the same age. We've had a few and both of our sons are just total anarchists. And
Oh, good.
complete,
You have that in common.
Heath Ledger's the Joker, just want to watch the world burn, and so they get
Interesting.
together, and it's a grand old time.
Well,
Yeah, we're
great.
lucky to still be standing afterwards.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense, though, just based on your characters, that you guys have that side to you.
That
that's
we would
just
have
total
sons too.
anarchy.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think that it does track from a writer's point of view. But yeah, my son Walter and her son Henry got along immediately, and it's been pretty fun.
Sounds scary in a way,
Yeah, it should. It should.
Setting fires together.
Yeah, these are
and-
the guys who are going to be running the world someday. It's terrifying.
Love it. And it looks like you guys are all having fun. Like you were saying, it
Yeah.
seems like you guys have such a good time.
Right.
You guys get along together pretty well, the cast as a family.
The
seems
whole
like.
cast gets along great. Yeah, I love the kids. The kids are really, really special. They are
Yes.
really good actors. They're genuinely funny. They're not just
Yes.
reading
Well, and I
lines.
think what's
that.
special about everything too is that you have these great comedic moments, but everyone is also able to do these really heartfelt, tug on your heartstring moments as well.
Yeah.
And quickly,
Yeah.
interchangeably.
Well, we have 22 minutes to tell a story, so
Yeah.
the pace, the switch from heartfelt to absurd is pretty breakneck.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of sharp left turns on this show, and I love that because, such is life too, I think. But it was really early on, our second or third episode, they gave me this really wonderful speech about how the family's kind of bulletproof. and how all these little tiny things that bother other families don't bother us because we've been growing up with JJ, and when after JJ was born, we got a list of all the things he wasn't going to be able to do, so we were able to kind of like cut the rest of the world some slack. It's a beautiful speech. It's one of the best things I've ever had a chance to say out loud. And then a minute later, in the end of the same scene, Ray gets into the most incredibly uncomfortable, embarrassing situation with a bunch of girls from his high school, and it's glorious. And that's life. It's incredibly heartfelt and incredibly stupid, and all within minutes of each other, and it's fun to play.
Yeah, we definitely see that.
I love it.
And this show does a very good job at keeping it very light, and
Well, we're an ABC sitcom. Yeah,
Right,
we're not interested in doing a half hour of Chekhov every week.
Right.
Documentary.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a nice balance, because I actually would be really concerned if it was just heart tugging all the time.
Right.
I don't really go in for super sentimental. Scott Silveri said something really interesting when we started the show. He knew what he didn't know what he wanted the show to be. He just knew what he didn't want it to be, and he didn't want it to be like overly sweet and saccharine, and he didn't want it to be cynical.
Right. Because that's so unrealistic.
It is unrealistic, and we don't want something like that's kind of after school special Hallmark movie of the week kind of thing, with all due respect to those genres, but nor do we want to do an episode of South Park.
Right.
So it's hard to figure out like what you want to do by what you don't want to do, but this middle ground here between Hallmark movie and South Park is our sweet spot, apparently, and we're just kind of finding our way through this vast field. And it's been really exciting, and I'm in awe of the writers and the balance they strike just week after week, getting that. Whether we're either in the middle or we dip one toe in Lifetime Movie of the Week and one toe in South Park, and that's how it works. It's like it's a chemistry thing, and it's fascinating to watch.
Yeah.
I never feel like the transitions between like those two like tones feel awkward either. Like it all flows so well together.
Oh,
I feel
good.
like.
Well, there's that nice moment in the show tonight where JJ finds out he's going to have surgery, and it's surgery, but it's also a surgery he's had before. But at the same time, it's also surgery, and that's nothing a parent wants to hear. Speaking as somebody who's got 2 kids, and there's this very quiet moment where I just lean down, I press my head up against his, and I say, "Listen, I have some contacts here. Would you like to name a baby?" And that's our act break, and I loved that moment so much. It was, and I'm seeing people on the East Coast responding to it on Twitter already as just like it's
so
kind of
great.
what the show does really well. It's just those little gear shifts that are really
Well, and
fun.
especially when you have a kid like that might be in that situation and is scared. Like as a parent, I think that all you can do is try to like get their mind off of what's about to happen.
Oh, it was great because it was supportive and it was also just kind of uplifting and calmed him down totally. I thought it was going to be like a deep moment and then it was a joke and it was like, it was perfect.
And I have to give Scott credit. The stage direction was specifically for me to press my head up against his. That was not my choice. That said in the script, like he presses his head up against JJ's, and I was like, oh, that's a nice moment because it gives you that misdirect. Because you think it's going to be this like, hey, buddy, we're here for you, and it's not at all.
Yeah.
And I love that.
And it's so Jimmy too.
Yeah. It's so Jimmy.
Oh, God.
It's so Jimmy.
Obviously.
Do you want me to abuse my power?
What?
Yeah.
Well, right. Remember, because you had the whole episode where you couldn't be emotional, so.
Well, yeah, exactly. Where you just gave in.
I can't have deep conversations.
Totally makes
He
sense.
can't have deep conversations.
That was one of my favorites.
For someone that can't have deep conversations, I feel like your character has had a lot of deep conversations throughout.
Yeah,
the
but he'd
season.
really
Very
rather
true.
not. He has them forced upon them.
But you have some of the sweetest moments, like with the whole, taking Dylan to the airport and showing Ray the building you were gonna build. Like,
oh yeah.
Yes.
all of that. Like you have these really
Car
great,
moment.
sweet moments for someone that
the robe moment
true.
was really sweet too.
Yeah.
Although
Oh,
it
robe
was
talk?
lighthearted. Robe talk was great. I loved it.
Rope Talk was great. Oh, Rope Talk was so
Goodness.
weird, and I loved like
It was
how
so weird.
how protective Mason was. Mason/Ray, mostly Mason, was about the robe, and just like how it was really like his thing that he wanted, and how everyone was just so flummoxed by it. Yeah, the Robe Talk. That episode should have been called RO Robe Talk.
Definitely.
Although I will say, I think my favorite episode probably of the season, and definitely my favorite Jimmy episode, is just the one where you feel like you don't have a purpose or you're not any use to the family, and then you realize that you're the only thing that keeps everyone kind of stable within the family.
Oh, it's the sick day one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was an interesting episode. They've given me I've been very, very lucky as an actor, and I've gotten to do a bunch of different stuff, but I haven't gotten to do. There's a lot of like quiet, gentle, quasi-dramatic stuff that I've gotten to do on Speechless that I haven't had a chance to do before, and that's really fun for me as an actor and as a person. The sick day one was weird because it's funny. You have someone draw circles under your eyes and powder you down, and you get into your pajamas and you lie down all day. And 6 hours later, you feel awful.
Yeah.
You really do. It's purely psychosomatic, but you get it. You're like, oh. And so there comes a point where, like, I'm not even acting anymore. I'm like, I might actually have a fever. You don't have a fever, John. You don't have a fever, you idiot. Just say the lines. But, you get into it after a point. You just sort of let the wardrobe do it for you. And if you're just lying there talking like this for, 6 to 8 hours, it catches up with you, man. It really does. That was a funny episode. That was a really, really fun thing to play, especially when we all start turning on each other about halfway into the episode, and everyone gets stuck in the sick room behind the plastic wrap,
Yes.
and Ray screaming, "Oh, I'm like you, I'm a well." And, yeah, that was really funny.
There's something Hunger Gamesy about it to me.
Yeah.
Very.
A little
No,
bit.
there's something very dystopian about the whole thing.
Yes.
Like someone going to volunteer in tribute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole
Who are we
thing.
gonna kill off first? Who brought it in?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They're an interesting
Try
group.
not to hit my mic with my mug when I do this.
Yes, graceful. All right, so
So
getting into
talented.
this episode,
Yes.
we got a few things going on. One of the interesting things since we're talking about Ray, he's doing his little modern dance. Is that like interpretive dancing going on?
Right.
Apparently they have honors modern dance.
This school is so weird.
Yeah, right. I was
It's definitely a private school,
I feel like
right?
Did
in the
anyone notice
no,
that
I
was
feel
honors?
like in the beginning of this show, I was questioning some of the school stuff. Now I'm just like, you know what?
Sure.
It seems legit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't overthink it.
Yeah,
right, yeah.
But I mean, they're kind of making fun of those schools, those public
Right.
schools that are in neighborhoods that are so wealthy that they might as well be private schools.
Exactly.
Right,
And
right.
it's not too much of a stretch to suggest that there would be a phys ed elective
Yes.
called Honors Modern Dance
Honors.
that you could maybe get in there for an easy A.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So you're saying, sorry.
Yeah, no. So I mean, I would assume that he went through a prerequisite for that. So
definitely.
he's doing pretty well there. But we also saw Sports Ray, which I like had a title.
Sports person.
Sports
I love
person,
yeah,
yeah.
He's a sports person
Yeah.
now
Not a
because
sportsman.
because he ran once,
Right.
so now he's a sports
Now.
person. He ran once and beat a sister.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have actually really fun video on my phone. I'll post it later tonight of the golf cart chasing Kyla and Mason down the
Oh,
street,
and
filming
way. Nice.
filming the race sequence.
I would love to see that.
Like the middle of the night in Cheviot Hills. We have a lot of night shoots for a show with 3 kids. We have a lot of night shoots, and the golf cart's just speeding along behind them. It's a cute video. It's a fun little behind the scenes thing.
That's so
It's
cute.
funny. And then so that leads to Smart Dylan, because she doesn't want to be beat out, or she wants to
Right.
take Ray's
Yeah,
thing.
you can say anything about Dylan, but if she's gonna do something, she's gonna do it all out.
Right? I
What-
love her.
What was her whom line? Because it was so amazing. It was like,
At whom are you
it was
looking?
at whom are you looking at?
Not-
No, not at. At whom are you looking?
whom are
you
you
don't
looking?
need. You can't end it with a
Right, you can't.
preposition.
You're
That's the whole
right.
point.
You're totally right.
Yeah.
I learned that in school.
Otherwise, she would be Smart Dylan.
Yeah, right.
At whom are you looking is.
We have Sports Page. And
It's really one of my. She gets so many great lines, and she knocks them out of the park week
Yes.
after
Really
week.
does.
I would love to know, is that a little actress? Is she anything like Dylan? Because Dylan's such a specific, interesting, odd little girl. What is she
No,
like?
Kyla's a sweet kid.
Yeah?
Kyla's a really sweet kid.
Dylan's disturbing in a way.
Dylan is disturbingly aggressive.
Disturbed by
Very
this girl.
aggressive.
Profoundly dumb. If you actually, when every
Really?
once in a while, no, Dylan says incredibly dumb things. Well, there's the episode a few weeks ago where she goes, "No, seriously, one time I got decapitated." I'm like, "No, that's not a thing." You're
She
using
can
that
get
word
away
wrong.
with that stuff though because she just says it with such certainty. Like
Such
she's so
certainty.
she just doesn't care at all what
Straight.
anyone thinks.
He's constantly misusing
Yeah.
literally. Yeah,
It's like those, toddlers when they're like, no, this is right. And you're like, you have no idea yet.
Right,
Yeah.
But she owns it with that sort of just belief.
what
It's great.
what Kyla has in Kyla's incredibly smart, incredibly kind, incredibly sweet. She has a certain confidence about her that she brings to Dylan. But one of my favorite things about Dylan is how she just loves being a DiMeo. You know, if that means that we go out and we raid dumpsters or we sneak into a country club,
Right.
or like she never questions this.
Shameless.
She is in it all the way.
Yeah.
And it's both shameless and it's a little bit like the TV show Shameless, now that you mention
Yes.
it. And that she's just like, this is what we do. This is how we roll. Raise an embarrassment. Let's do this. And
Yes.
another fun thing about Kyla is that she's been on Walking Dead. You know, she
Right.
that was her big break was being on Walking Dead, and I was very excited to meet her because I'm a fan of the show. But she has, because of that, she's seen films that I didn't see till I was in college. Like, she's a 14-year-old girl who's seen Silence of the Lambs, and I don't know if that's okay or what, but she has this incredible breadth of knowledge about horror films that is adorable.
So she is a little scary then.
There is
Okay.
something, but again, it's covered in this incredibly sweet package. But yeah, maybe she's a psychopath. I don't know. I love the kid to pieces though. She's a great kid.
I feel like I want to see an episode where someone like tries to make her be sweet and girly, and she's just hating it.
Well, there was one episode where she
The mean
has her
girl one.
first crush.
She has a first crush, but I just like have this like vision in my head of her being dressed in like this pink poofy dress, and her just like.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I love the one where she like wears her things backwards and they're all trying to copy her. So we had a
Yeah,
little bit
the
of
kind
that.
of Mean Girls
She tries,
episode
yeah,
where everyone follows
exactly.
her.
The Mean Girl episode was pretty fascinating. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was really interesting. That was an interesting little insight into her character and how she was sort of a reluctant leader of them. And I also love that the clothes are all stolen from confiscated luggage.
Yes.
Absolutely.
If I may bring it back to my character.
Yes, which by the way, for a while we were wondering what.
Yeah, we were
does
seriously
Jimmy
wondering
do?
how the family got money.
I
Week
remember
after week.
I remember
Speculation.
this show specifically. I remember AFTERBUZZ being very concerned about that, and I was like, wait,
I'm like, do they
wait for it.
steal from people?
It's
Wait for
coming.
it.
What are they
The
doing?
answer is coming. You know, it's
I
funny.
mean, I would not put it past Maya to just be like somehow getting money out of people in some obscure way.
Right, offshore account, something like.
Or like running very long cons. It's basically her
Yes.
character from The Riches,
Yeah.
but she's now in Newport Beach, grifting for her kid. Yeah, it's I knew after the pilot they figured out, well, because I was like, I got to know what I do for a living. I don't.
Right.
The viewers don't need to know, but I really need to find
Yeah.
out what I do for a living. And they're like, we got you a terrible job. And I'm like, great, talk to me about it. And they're like, you're a baggage handler, and you're. Can I curse?
Yeah.
You seem a little hesitant. Okay.
You can't.
was
You
like,
just have
yeah.
to censor it on YouTube if you do, so like younger people couldn't watch.
Fair enough. I will censor myself.
It's not spontaneous anymore.
Now my wings have been clipped. They gave me the job of the guy who handles baggage and baggage complaints at the airport because it ties into Jimmy's superpower, which is being able to absorb tons of other people's S word.
Ah,
Yeah.
yes.
Just tons of it. He can just take abuse all day long, and it slides off his back, or he goes and screams it out. But it's part of like the inherent coolness in
Right.
this
That's
character.
very true.
I mean, that's a very good trait that not many people can have.
Exactly, and it informed the 6 episodes before any of you guys knew what Jimmy did for a living. I was like, Jimmy's superpower is that he can
taking
take
it.
tons of abuse.
Yes.
That's the thing.
You're
Which he
definitely
does.
bullied by
yeah,
your family.
yeah, and I
You just need to impart that onto Ray a little bit.
I know exactly. Ray needs to come with me to work too. So it was interesting, but I kind of love the fact that they weren't in a huge rush in terms of the exposition, and like, listen, viewer, when you need to find out, we will let you know. And we've been back to the airport like 3 times. There's a scene at the airport that got cut from tonight's episode. Actually, a fun scene where I go to buy a sandwich at the food court at the airport, and I'm there every day, and the guy does not know me. I'm like, I'll have my usual.
Oh,
And he's like,
Reyes.
your usual? Just give me the number 3.
So part of you
We don't have a
realizing
number
you don't
3.
have juice.
Yeah, exactly. It was one
I
more.
was gonna say because that's where he would have it.
It's one more beat of him being thwarted, and I think they just cut it for time, and then we just went straight to the hospital where he's a king. But it was interesting.
Amazing.
But I love the fact that they were very patient with the exposition. I think it's something that the show does pretty well. It just gives you just enough information, here and there. And there's still tons of stuff that we know, just in terms of JJ's diagnosis and all sorts of backstory that we still have to get to. We've sort of touched on, like, how did these two people end up together?
Right.
We've
Right.
sort of just gently brushed up against that, but we don't know what the hell she's doing in Orange County.
Right.
What this
That's
beautiful
true.
British woman with a vaguely posh accent is doing in Newport Beach. That isn't right near Hermosa. I don't know how that happened, but we'll get there.
Yeah, I think those are the
love
things
that.
that we've been wanting all season, and I knew in the bottom of my heart I was like, I know they're just like holding that back for us because we're gonna get it in like a later season. Like they're waiting. They don't want
Right.
to put too much out yet.
I'd love to. I'll go on record right now. I'd love to do a flashback episode where they dye my hair black again and we figure out like what the origin story of all these people are. I'm in it for that. I'm
That
here
would be
for that.
amazing.
I'm all about a flashback episode, and we have tons of Friends writers on the show. So and Friends did great
They did
flashback
amazing.
episodes.
It's actually very interesting that you bring that up because it is kind of written in the same way. Because Friends didn't give all the answers either, and that's like how they were able to go on for so
10
long.
seasons.
It always makes it
They
funnier
had
too.
a long game plan.
Yeah.
I want to
That's a
see
smart way to write.
the flashback episode where you find out that you're either whether it be after the fact or before the fact that you're having a mentally challenged child.
Right.
Two things about that. I push back very respectfully. As we mentioned last week, JJ is cognitively typical.
Sorry, yes.
No, it's fine.
correct.
It's fine. It's a minefield. Listen, the language surrounding disability is a minefield that we run through like idiots every week.
Right.
I'm actually going to get in trouble for using the word idiot. Watch. But the other thing is that cerebral palsy, there's no prenatal screening. It's something that often happens during the process of birth. There's some sort of problem with blood oxygenation. I'm not the best guy to be explaining this,
But we got the main points.
but yeah, so it's not a there's no amount of genetic screening that could warn you for it. But yeah, we had no. Don't think I can talk about that. That will hopefully, if we get another season, that's stuff that we will deal with down the pike. But it's they have a very interesting way of exposing that information as we go further into the stories.
Yeah, I think I just want to see all these like things because I just know that Maya and Jimmy are just. I feel like they would just handle stuff so much differently than you would expect anyone to handle some
Yeah.
situation. So I want to just see how they would handle it.
Yeah.
It's really, I think it's very interesting. I think it rings very true, and I've said too much already. But yeah, and you know, it's interesting. We've actually gotten some tweets from people who, you know, love the fact that we kept having kids.
Right.
You know, that we've got two, that JJ's our oldest, we got two younger, which is
Right.
the case in Scott Silveri's family. His older brother Gregory is the one with CP, who's nonverbal,
Yep.
and he's older than Scott.
I was just gonna say that's probably why it's done in such a good way of mixing the satire and like the satire and what's and what's comedic.
I was like, I thought is
What's
that like
serious?
a Johannesburg
Yeah, it's like my
pronunciation
accent's
of?
hard now.
She has an
It's a good night
accent.
for my speech. So between like the satire and then the really serious moments, it's probably got such a good balance because it's based on such real experience.
Yeah, I think he starts from a place of what really happened, and then goes to places of what would have been funnier.
Right.
What are maybe some logical extensions to this? And I think they kind of worked backwards on this episode. There is, of course, a wonderful Goodfellas homage where I walk through the hospital and everybody knows me, and it's like the Copacabana scene in the Scorsese movie. And I think they actually worked backwards from that. Like, wouldn't it be funny if we did like a Goodfellas homage with Jimmy at the hospital?
That's amazing.
How would we get
How did
there?
they
Well, maybe
So
Jimmy has a friend
amazing.
who's really connected at places where you're supposed to be connected, and it's the whole process is really or process, as Minnie would say, is pretty.
Or me
Paige would
tonight, we
say
don't know.
apparently.
Okay, yeah, who knows? It's interesting to see how the stories come together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, going into that, let's talk about him real quick. Jimmy has a new BFF or BF.
Or date.
Is
I
he
don't
a
know.
boyfriend
We have a
or best
mandate.
friend?
We have a mandate, yeah.
It's a fine line there.
Mandate.
It's like that I
Yeah.
love you man fine line of like, are we dating or are we becoming best friends?
Right.
It's a profoundly, as a father, it's a profoundly realistic thing to be shoved into. Like, hey, our kids are friends.
Right.
Maybe we'll be
Really?
friends, and that's.
Well, I mean that makes sense because if your
Totally.
kids are friends, you're gonna have to see each other and be around each other.
It's
So
So you get set up on a mandate.
You get set up
Whoa, I
on
did not know
dad
that.
dates,
Dad
all,
dates.
and stuff
my
like
best
that.
friend growing up, my mom and her mom are still
Yeah,
best
same.
friends.
I'd
Yeah.
love to be a fly on the wall on a dad
Yeah.
date. That sounds
Well,
interesting.
It's a very real. I've been very lucky in my real life of like the dads of my daughter's friends and my son's friends are for the most part pretty cool. Hey Johnny,
Good.
Henry,
Yeah, there you go. Shout outs.
if you're watching.
Shout outs. Because I'm imagining.
John Setson, what's up? Good to see you. I've been very, very lucky about the guys I've gotten to know, but it's a crapshoot. You know, you're the only thing that's you have in common is that your daughters get along.
Right.
So I responded to that, and that idea of going on basically a blind date with a dad from the school, and then I was just over the moon that Paul F. Tompkins was playing the part.
Yes.
Because Paul's terrific.
And so you knew him prior to this?
Paul and I have known each other through the comedy world for years. We worked together a couple years ago doing a series of web videos for the 2012 Ford Focus. Not a joke.
Whoa.
That's
Look it up.
Interesting.
Where I played a representative of the Ford Motor Company, and Paul F. Tompkins was the voice of an orange puppet named Doug. And we did a bunch of videos where we literally, like, with Doug in the passenger seat and me driving the new Ford Focus, we drove around Los Angeles and gave people rides and shot these videos of, and some of them were real people, and we had, and some of them were plants, but some of them were just real people we picked off of Hollywood Boulevard, which is a terrible idea. And what we shot, we shot like 25 videos. We flew to Detroit and shot a bunch of stuff there. So Paul and I had this really weird gig together about 5 years ago where he's the voice of an orange puppet, and I'm getting all this Ford swag, but not a car. I got like all these Ford t-shirts and stuff. And, you have a gig with somebody like that,
right?
Where it's like, oh, we're going back to the orange puppet videos. Here we go. You develop a bond.
Yeah,
right.
You get really close with somebody when you're doing something that strange.
Yeah, giving rides to strangers.
Yeah.
Yes, I would say so.
So Paul and I became pretty fast friends then, and just to get to play with them again was really fun. You can
That's
look them up,
right.
by the way. The videos are still online.
Yeah.
The Ford Focus Doug, I think, was probably your best search term, or
okay.
my name
That's
in
great.
Ford Focus. And you'll get to see that dynamite Tompkins Bowie chemistry at play.
Yes.
Tompkins
Yeah. I mean, you could see it in the episode. You guys got along. I totally believe that this is,
It was
a little
great.
awkward, but it was funny because he starts off coming off as the worst person, and he calls someone else, so he's the worst. It's so funny because you're clearly awful, but then he ends up being kind of the best in
He's
a way.
just a generous guy.
it
He's
was
just
weird.
a really
So amazing.
Yeah, and it's fun too because you kind of think, when I read the part, I was thinking they're going to cast some, and I was fine with that, some really tall, cut, good-looking guy of this kind of open shirt, checking everything out, Scott Foley in his mid-30s or Josh Duhamel kind of guy, like do that, fine, that makes sense, that's a funny way to do it, but I love that they cast this sort of off-type alpha male to do it, and Paul just destroys. I hope we have him back. I really hope we have him.
That's what I was thinking when we ended the episode. I want to see him
Well,
back.
because you have Maya's like girl group kind of, and we've seen you with like the other dads, but that you don't really like them.
And
I don't really like them that
I didn't
much.
see that
And
happening.
we've seen Jimmy with like the other friends. Remember when
Oh,
Faye
the B-
was doing
the
his
B
whole
list of
urban-
his
yeah,
friends?
your
Your
B-list
B-list
friends. So we
friends.
only got to meet one friend so far and barely meet him. That was actual friend because you were like, oh, you weren't supposed to be on this list.
Cool Doug.
Cool
Yes,
Doug.
cool Doug. You're not
Doug.
supposed to be here. I'll call you. Yeah, we've met Jimmy's the other special needs dads who just Jimmy's not that into. His B list of friends, which was Dylan's old karate teacher,
right.
a landlord from 3 apartments ago.
It's like
Killing
people
it.
that you have to be friendly with for some reason or
Or
another.
their contact details stay in your phone.
Exactly.
Right.
The people who
All
are still in your
existence.
phone, and you're like, oh, what am I? And those are the people he gets involved in Ray's pyramid scam. That was a fun episode too. They're all fun. It's a fun gig.
It's funny because it's all true to character. It's like the things that Jimmy does. It's like, oh my god, that's so Jimmy.
Well, the thing we've sort of found, because initially we're just like, okay, Jimmy's cool. Jimmy's the center. He's the center of gravity for the family on a number of levels. But he also goes off on these adventures. If you remember the supermarket episode with the banjo cola that we
With Dylan.
we basically shot it as an action movie with the two of us running all over the backs of a real stinky back room of a supermarket in Highland Park, where we spent 4 of our 5 production days in every nook and cranny of this supermarket that was still open and functioning. So there'd be like 2 registers open, and then we're taking up the 3rd one. because we
Wow.
just could not find a supermarket that would let us have the whole place.
Right.
So we would
Interesting.
we'd have little pockets like, sorry, we're shooting produce right now. Could you guys keep it down?
Interesting.
So that was our week. But yeah, he gets us into these little adventures, and it's so fun to play. And our season finale, without giving too much away, he is, once again, his partner in crime is young Dylan, and they get into trouble around the country. I'll leave it at that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, a little
But we shot it all in LA.
We all looked at each other.
I think we're all like, what is it going to be?
Yeah, we all looked at each other like, ooh, okay.
That's the one thing that I think we've never really been able to predict that well what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear.
You never know what you're going to get with this.
You really don't.
I know.
We're like Scandal that way.
Exactly. Yeah, every
So
show
9,
has
20 seasons
predictions.
later.
Every show has predictions except for ours, and they're always like, "Did we miss it?" And we're like, "We don't know."
All we ever do, I feel like, is like not what's going to happen. It's like, well, I would like to see.
Right, yeah, we talk about what we want.
And it's mostly people coming back,
Right.
like different characters. We're like, I would like that one to come back.
Like we wanted the girl to come back, the one that
Riley,
the Manic
Mullins.
Pixie Dream Girl?
Yeah, the crazy girl from last week.
No, the one that JJ was asking out.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh,
the
God.
tall one.
The tall one from the prom.
No, not
not
that
her.
one. The
Not
one from
that
it was
tall
the
one?
beginning of the season. It was
2
like-
episodes, she had a recurring, what was her name?
Yeah,
Oh, my
she
God.
had like a broken leg.
and the crutches. And I
and
can't
she-
She
yes.
snapped both her ankles. She's a
Yes.
gymnast, and she
Yes,
snaps
she's
both
a
her
gymnast,
ankles,
and
and
they
she ends
hung
up in a
out.
wheelchair.
Her
Right.
and the girl that Ray had a crush on were the two that we want to come back the most because we just want to see them interact with
I
them.
need a little bit more about the girl that Ray had a crush on.
The one that was dating a guy at the beginning of the show, and then
Oh,
she broke up
Very
with him,
beginning.
and then in the Halloween episode,
Dylan Cat. Is
he
that
like
the one?
Ray
Dylan?
goes after her.
the
kind of, and then
actress
she's
is
with another
Lukita
guy.
Maxwell. Lovely young lady. That was her first credit, actually. Our pilot was her first credit, and then she
Wow.
came back and did like 2 or 3 more. I was partial to the Manic Pixie Dream Girl from the Oscar episode, who was fantastic. And
She was good for Ray.
that
That was
whole arc
interesting.
about how he tries to play himself off as a Manic Pixie Dream Boy that
Yeah,
breaks
yeah.
a window at his school.
I think I just want to see Ray
lot
with
happening there.
the first crush girl because of the fact of like he did ask her out. Like I think both of these facts, like they asked him out, they got turned down. So where do we go now? Because we're still in the same school with them. You know, that's a very realistic thing that happens in high school, especially in college.
Without saying
Adulthood.
anything else, I strongly encourage you to tune in next week.
Ooh, I'm so excited.
Well, we'll definitely
we
do.
will.
Yeah,
Well, it's
we'll
your
be
job,
there.
but yeah,
Okay.
but you too, America.
Right.
All 5 or 6 million of you. It's hard. Network TV in 2017, it's hard. 5 or 6 million is respectable.
You're right. It's good. So real quick, talking about characters that we
Yeah.
wanted to come back. The principal came back in this episode, which
Yes.
is exciting. We hadn't seen her in a while.
Maren
her.
Hinkle.
She's so funny.
We haven't seen her in a while because she's been doing Homeland. I guess she's a
That's
bad guy
why.
on Homeland, and
Isn't
but
that crazy?
So
Bad
hard when you're
guy.
doing-
Interesting.
yeah.
We'll have to see her
yeah,
as a bad guy.
she's terrific.
She's
Maren is a genius.
She's awesome on
She
that.
she was on our first day of shooting the pilot. She had this massive speech where she's in front of the school welcoming us, and
Mm-hmm.
we have changed it from the pirate with its images of sexual violence to the sea slug who has
Oh,
both
right.
male and female genitalia. And she did this, and we were all like, "This woman's a genius! Oh my God, she's." Yeah, they gotta lock her down. We gotta give her a contract
She
or
makes
something.
such
great.
strong comedic choices. Like,
Yeah.
they get me every time. I'm like, how do you pick up a piece of paper and make the decision she makes? Just every facial expression, everything. It's just she's a really strong actress.
That's just such an
I love
LA
her.
thing, though, too, to like for us to be like, oh, why didn't they bring her back? And then it's like, oh, because she
She's
has
on
another
another
job.
Yeah,
Right,
I know,
yeah.
right?
Right.
It's such an LA thing. Like, oh, she's terrific. She should be on the show more often. Well, listen, she's got to make a living.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a delight. And fun trivia, without giving too much away, she lives near where we shoot the house.
Oh, very cool.
The exterior of the house, she actually lives right near it. So that's pretty
Cool.
crazy.
So if we all want to stalk her,
But I have not told you what neighborhood that is.
So she just walks on right to set. Okay, so we have JJ who, we find out from the principal that I guess Kenneth is going to have a month off, or a couple months off for summer.
Yeah, summer off.
summer.
Yes.
He gets a summer break.
Yes, while we're off of the season, I guess.
I guess he just must pick up more shifts at the supermarket then.
Right, which we also want to get back to. So JJ wants to go to camp, which is 10 weeks, by the way. That was, is that normal? 10-week
Lawn.
camp?
That's lawn
Right?
for
I
camp.
was like,
Camp
is
is
it me?
lawn.
I don't
Yeah.
remember one 10-week camp, but
Eight
That's
was
about
the
two and a half months.
even that's
yeah.
a long time.
8 was the majority for when I only went for 4.
Right, 4 months.
I feel
2
like,
weeks.
I feel like 10 weeks is more understandable for like a day camp. like where you're not spending the night and stuff.
Oh, and you get to go home at night. But
yeah, because
my
I know
mom would've
kids. I
loved
know
it.
kids
She
that are
would've
in
been
like long
"Peace,
summer camps
go."
for like, and they're just 3 hours of the day.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, he'll be gone for
That is
10 weeks, and
immersed.
you'll find out more about the camp next week. But yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay, so I'll
interesting.
come back. Okay, cool. So we have that going on.
Episode's called CA Camp, so I'm not really
Oh, okay,
spoiling
okay,
anything
right.
there.
Okay, great. Awesome.
So we have JJ asking Kenneth to manipulate Maya. We get, what was it, J.I. and Paya?
And then we get Kenneth being just way over the top with trying to sell this thing to Maya.
Right.
He blew it. It was going so well, and he blew it.
His poeticness just.
I love that scene. You know, it's funny on this show. Obviously, I only see the stuff I'm in. It's not like a multicam where
Right.
you're
Right.
there all night watching the taping. So I really only see. So half the episode is a surprise to me. So that wonderful moment where he starts riffing off of the board, and then when he finally stops, he looks for Maya and then looks up, and that's when we reveal she stood up. And it's just a wonderfully. Geeta Patel was our director this week, and she's terrific. And she had her work cut out for her. She had that time-lapse scene and that massive fake
Right.
tracking shot cut into 4 pieces going through the hospital. She really had like a 22-minute movie to make this week, and she rose to the occasion. She was terrific. Yeah,
Yeah.
Cedric is brilliant in that scene.
Real quick, since you were mentioning that, the hospital shot, you said that you were there all day, and it seemed like that little montage Goodfellas homage thing, that was pretty choreographed, and it
Had to be
seemed really
super tightly
timed.
choreographed and done in 4 chunks. It's
Very La La Land was very...
very La La Land, yes.
Yeah, right?
Very
Can't
La
see
La
your way
Land.
through.
Very, yeah, it was, anytime they close in on my back, there's a cut. So that's how we cheated it. And there's one point where I actually go into what I know to be a closet and emerge in an operating theater. And because they were just trying to like make the best use of the space possible.
Right.
But anytime they go on my back, that's a cheat and that's a cut. So you can count. It's done in 3. It's actually 3 big chunks. But even still, those chunks were huge, and
lot of stuff going on.
everyone's got to be there at the same time and doing what they're supposed to do, or else we have to go back to the beginning and start.
Because
Right.
one miss hand high five. Is
Exactly, that's
Restart.
it. The whole thing's blown, and we have to go all the way back to the door of the hospital. So it was pretty intense.
Exactly.
But really fun. Goodfellas is one of my favorite movies. I'm a 46-year-old white guy. It's given. We all love Goodfellas, but it's so when I found out that we were gonna do an homage, I was super excited. And it was really fun to shoot.
It looked like a lot of fun. It looked like a hard work and like
Yeah.
a tough day,
Yeah.
sweat, but it looks like fun.
It was
My
fun.
favorite part was the baby coming out.
Oh, it's a boy. Good eye, Jimbo. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was pretty amazing. I was
was
walking
great.
by.
It just was like, it took a step up every time, and I was like, yes,
Right?
that
Yeah.
was great.
and
gliding
then
in and out of surgery.
high fiving the comatose patient was my favorite.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are at the hospital and we find out that JJ had dislocated his knee, needs
Kneecap,
surgery. That reaction that he gives, that Micah gives when they tell him he needs surgery again, was so like defeated, and also you could tell that it's something that he had been through before. That the character, it just wasn't like new news. It was sort of disappointing and just, oh, okay, this again. And I loved seeing that on his face. He played that very well.
He played it really well, and without getting into details, Micah's got stuff he can pull from. Micah's
Absolutely.
got experiences in hospitals that he can, and with doctors, where there's different shades of bad news. There's really terrible news, and there's like minor inconvenience news, and there's this again news, and he's got a face for all of it. And it's interesting to watch him. His mom's on set a lot. Just hanging out, and he's pretty self-sufficient, but she's around a lot. We talk a lot about the stuff he's been through, and he's got a wealth of experience and authenticity to bring to the role, and I think it really shows in that scene.
Absolutely.
Because with any special needs kid, you're gonna have hospitals and therapists in your life,
Yeah.
and it's something you have to work through. And I love that he gets to use this as an outlet of working through.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And one thing that I do want to say about this episode that I really loved, because we've spoken a lot about JJ becoming more independent and how we haven't seen that and how it's really starting to happen. This episode, it really happened. And we always spoke about that, how he was so dependent on Maya and Maya was so dependent on him. And
Yeah.
I just really loved seeing him take initiative to be independent, like after he met his mentor friend, we were talking about that.
The great Zach Anner.
Yeah. And then it was kind of great to see him crumble, because it's strength beyond a normal kid's strength.
Right.
And then it was kind of good to see him weak, because I don't think we often see that. And then watch Maya step in, and it kind of explained the relationship for me in a better way, and it made me understand why it's important he becomes independent. But it also just, it was beautiful and showing how they were both growing through this episode.
He's
Absolutely
learned to kind of let Maya depend on him because she needs that. So whether or not he was ready
right.
to move on, he was like, I have to do this for my mom because
Right.
she
Lets
needs
her.
me to.
It's a complicated and not always healthy relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think this episode addresses that in a responsible but still funny way.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny you point that out. Anytime we show Micah's vulnerabilities, there's always this little tweet storm of oh my God, I'm so glad they showed that. You know, it can be something as simple as me like lifting him up from physical therapy and putting him back in the chair, and that's in like the corner of the frame behind what's actually happening. But just the fact that we've shown it, people really respond to that. It's stuff that I completely take for granted, or don't realize is such a big deal, rather. And people are like, well, that's a thing I've not seen on TV before that is part of my life.
I love that.
And it's pretty neat. It's very moving.
Yeah, it's great.
I mean, this show is definitely like very groundbreaking in the fact that we've not seen anything like this on television yet.
Yeah.
And I know TV is becoming more progressive now in terms of like, you know, gender and people that are challenged in any way. You know, it's just, I think TV's become more open to that, but it's also kind of amazing if you think back about any sort of show or movie that touched on anything about someone with like physical challenges or whatever they were. Generally, it was an actor pretending, you know, that they sort of had challenges. And I just think it's so refreshing.
The number is 95%, apparently.
It's
Of
crazy.
disabled characters on television are played by able-bodied actors.
It's so rare to have people writing and creating the show that have this experience and then have an actor who's actually having the experience too.
true.
Yeah.
It just brings a great touch to it, and that's probably why it's.
I mean, I think
it's
that's
the
why
tone
people-
of the show is
That's
something
why
that's
people are connecting with it
Yeah.
so well.
And then what's great is that we have really solid comedy writers who have stuff like this going on in their lives too. So these are people with the comedy chops who also can bring a certain amount of life experience and authenticity to it. There's a few people in our writers' room, aside from Scott, who have members of their family, either children or siblings with special needs, and they're able to just sort of rip from the headlines of their own lives, and I think that helps the show a lot.
It's great. That's the way it
And
should
it helps
be
the
done.
people that watch the show too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. This went by so quickly, guys. It's already past 8 o'clock. This went so fast.
Oh, goodness.
goodness.
Oh, goodness,
Thank
so it
you
is.
so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
This has been a really great talk. I think we got to know a lot about the show.
Yes.
Yes, please, you guys, like our video and send John some tweets and let him know how much you enjoyed watching him here on AfterBuzz TV. Real quick, we're going to tell everyone where we can be found and where you guys can join us, and then we'll be back next week. So, Taylor.
I'm Taylor Gates. You can find me on Twitter at alphabet_Ann and on Instagram at Taylor_Gates_.
And I'm at Paige_Bach on Instagram and at Paige Kelly Bach on Twitter.
Yes.
And you guys can find me at bphipps14 on Twitter and Instagram, bphipps1214 on Snapchat, and on Sunday you can find me on Popcorn Talk, our sister network, on my show Broadway Breakdown, where we're going to be discussing hair.
Awesome. And John, where can they all find you?
At John Ross Bowie across all platforms. Guys, it's not that hard.
Right, Paige?
You're an asshole, okay? I'm sorry.
Find me at Susannah_Kim, SUSANNAH_KIM. And I'm just about to go into the after show for Scorpion, so join us here for that. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you next week for the last episode. See you guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.